I am asking, specifically calling for the genocide of Jews, does that constitute bullying or harassment?
Representative, she's from New York, Republican Elise Stefanik, asked MIT President Sally Kornbluth and Penn President Liz Magill if it's okay to call for the genocide of the Jews. I might recommend that before we play this clip that you adjust yourself and make sure you're sitting in your seat securely, because you might actually fall out of your chair.
Dr. Kornbluth, yes. At MIT, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate MIT's code of conduct or rules regarding bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
If targeted at individuals, not making public statements.
Yes or no? Calling for the genocide of Jews does not constitute bullying and harassment?
I have not heard calling for the genocide for Jews on our campus.
But you've heard chants for intifada.
I've heard chants, which can be anti-Semitic depending on the context, when calling for the elimination of the Jewish people.
So those would not be according to the MIT's code of conduct or rules?
That would be investigated as harassment if pervasive and severe.
Ms. Magill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
I am asking, specifically calling for the genocide of Jews, does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. Magill. So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it if the
yes
speech
or
becomes
no?
If the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. Magill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes.
You know, I've watched this 5 times this morning, and I'm still almost speechless. First off, that lady there at the end, the smile. She's smiling the whole time. Like, I think the devil is in her. Like, she has been possessed by the devil. I don't know that I exactly mean that literally, but I kind of do in a real spiritual sense. These people have become rotten from the inside. There was so much obfuscation there. First off, I want to give real credit. Can we try to get Elise Stefanik on the show? I think we almost had her on about a year ago. I want to try to get her on the show. She did an absolutely great job, very cleanly, clearly laying out. Come on now, like, come on, I'm giving you a chance here. The whole world's watching. The devil woman with that smile. You have to also remember, before I get into some of the specifics, these schools for the last 5-7 years, we have been told that these kids should be issued microaggressions and trigger warnings, and they should be told if they're going to be discussing something that might upset them and everything else, and they're, you know, the generation snowflake, and we shouldn't upset them, and it's their truth, and all of these things. Suddenly, when it comes to calling for extermination of one particular minority, well, as one of them said, only when speech turns into conduct. And as Elise Stefanik said, yes, that would be the genocide. So you can defend free speech and also say, you know, if you keep calling for genocide or we're going to kill all the Jews or all that, that actually is harassment. A school is allowed to have a harassment policy, right, that they can have their own rules and regulations around.
And Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted as an individual, targeted at an individual.
It's targeted at Jewish students, Jewish individuals. Do you understand your testimony is dehumanizing them? Do you understand that dehumanization is part of anti-Semitism? I will ask you one more time. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric when
And is it
crosses into
anti-Semitic rhetoric?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric, when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
So the answer is yes, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board.